Hey, I'm Emily Weaver, and I am the Transition and Support Coordinator here at Southern Adventist University. And today we are here to talk a little bit about autism spectrum disorders in honor of Autism Awareness Month. First and foremost, autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder that is based off of having deficits. However, I prefer just differences in social communication and social interaction, as well as having repetitive or restricted interests or behaviors um, along the way too. People with autism tend to be really can have sensory aversions to various things like light or sound or smell, and they can also be very particular about routines being the same or having really intense interests about things as well. Um, Autism is a spectrum, and so that means that not everyone with autism is going to look exactly the same. In common language, most people refer to autism in terms of like low functioning or high functioning. That's not entirely how it works in the clinical sense. However, for lack of better words, it's easier for people to understand what autism is like. And so today, I actually have with us today Ruben. Ruben is one of the students here at Southern Adventist University who also has an autism spectrum disorder. And today we're going to be asking him a couple questions about his experience with autism. So thanks so much, Ruben, for being here today. Why don't
Yep.
we start out? You can just introduce yourself, tell us, your age, where you're from, what's your major, stuff like that.
Okay. So I'm a junior here at Southern, and I'm a psychology major, and I'm wanting to go more of the therapy route, so the counseling route, and I'm 22, and just a little bit about me. I mean, I'm not sure about the ins and outs of my diagnosis, but like I've always been told that like I've always had trouble communicating, and whenever I've gotten into like out of my teen years, I've had a better time with communication, understanding social cues. It's just training myself. And so, yeah, I would say that it was on the educational side of it, like with the procrastination part of it, that's always been a thing. And on the social part of it, I wouldn't say it's as, I don't want to say noticeable, but as prominent.
Interesting. Well, that's interesting that you also shared too about your major being psychology. I know that some of the stereotypes about autism, might suggest that people with autism maybe don't have the empathy or the social skills required to be a therapist. But we're here obviously to share a different side of that. So tell me a little bit about your experience and what got you interested in the field of psychology and why you think, you might be um, a good fit for that field, I suppose.
Right. Okay, so great question. I originally I didn't have great friends, but I but my friend at the time, I had seen her experience like panic attacks firsthand, and I had seen I don't believe that anyone should uh experience or see this firsthand either, but I've seen a suicide attempt also.
Mhm.
And so I really like ever since that, like I've really had the heart for um understanding people, their feelings, where they're coming from.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just want to be that one person that people can come to me for help. I mean, it's one thing to be a support, like
Mhm.
a friend or something, but I want to be that one person that people call, like, what do I do?
Mm, right. Sounds like you're a natural helper.
Right, right. I consider myself a natural helper.
That's excellent. So, wow, it sounds like you have some pretty crazy experiences, seeing somebody who might try to commit suicide. That must have been really scary to observe. Um, was that a close up situation or you kind of at a distance?
Um, no, I kind of was kind of in the background. I
Mhm.
I was just sitting back watch, as terrible as that sounds, I was just sitting back watching, because I mean, like, it's just it's just unbelievably overwhelming to you in the
Right.
moment. You have no idea what's going
For sure. I'm sure it was very confusing. It's like, what do I do in this situation?
on.
So, well, that's great that you're here and you're graduating here next year. And so that's exciting. I think you also shared with me privately that you're looking into grad school and things like that as well
Yeah,
to continue on in this endeavor. And obviously, I am cheering you on all the way. That's my field as well. So, of course, I am more than happy to have more representation in the counseling field.
absolutely. Yep.
So, tell me a little bit about what it was like for you growing up with autism. Did you experience any sort of, discrimination or bullying at all because of your disability?
Yeah, in middle school, there was this one kid who, not all the time, but whenever he was just he would be very nice to like the other kids. And whenever he talked to me, he was just always a very big bully to me. But I mean, I never thought of it, like, I didn't care. But I mean, he always did, like, anytime that he ever talked to me, he always made a remark about me having autism, like being a teacher's pet, like that kind of thing, receiving special treatment. Which I want to preface this by saying, like, nobody on the spectrum is trying to receive special treatment.
Mhm.
They're just trying to get by like anyone else.
Right. Yeah, it's not always a fair representation. It's like, hey, I'm just trying to have the same ability and rights to be able to get an education, and I just have unique needs and ways to do that. So,
Right.
all right. Well, it sounds like things were a little bit stressful for you in elementary school. Is that something in middle school? Is that something you still feel like you experience today?
No, no. Whenever I started here at Southern, it was non-exist. It's been non-existent ever since I've been here, because I would say that when you're a freshman, you're kind of
Mhm.
coming out of high school, so you're getting out of your teens, you're 18, 19. So you're I would say that you have the maturity to where you know what is discriminatory.
Right.
So, and then life goes on from there. Like, we mature as we age. So I would say that, yeah, I mean, here, like, it's been non-existent.
Well, that's excellent. I'm glad that things have been more positive for you in your college experience and you haven't felt that people have been mistreating you at all because of those things.
Right, right.
So, one more question that we were having is I
Sure.
guess what would be the one thing that you wish people knew and understood about autism?
um I mean, I kind of mentioned it, but it's that whenever, like, we are talked about separate from us, like autism being separate from ourselves,
Hmm.
it's kind of like we're totally different people.
Hmm.
We are put in this box, as into, well, you're not like everybody else. Like, I mean, for one, yes, we are like everybody else, and two, like we're trying to make friendships, have an education, we're trying to do the normal, whatever you would call normal things that humans today are trying to achieve, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's just the big thing is that, especially on when it comes to education, I would say that a lot of um, the stigma comes from that, is that, oh well, they're autistic so they can't talk, or they don't learn as well.
Hmm.
For one, when you mentioned that it's a spectrum for a reason. There's the high functioning, and then there's just the totally nonverbal people.
Hmm.
Like, they understand their needs, they know how to communicate that, but they cannot verbally express that.
Right.
And so, like, for example, me, I'm on the high functioning
Hmm.
end. And like, some parts that I notice about myself is that I like that routine. I like doing the same thing. I like doing the same thing every day. Like,
Right.
for example, like, I like to wake up early to have coffee in the morning. That's just the
Mhm.
thing I like. And
Right.
so, but yeah, I mean, it's a spectrum for a reason, and there's no need to be ousting someone just for their condition and taking them separate from someone else, separate from someone who's not autistic. Like it can be paired with ADHD. Like I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I have ADHD. I have trouble communicating." It's like, okay, but I would say that people on the spectrum experience the difficulty with communicating and expressing their needs. I would say that we experience more on a higher level.
Right. I read an interesting study recently about autism, autistic people interacting with people who are, neurotypical or not autistic, and they were studying whether the sort of stereotype that autistic people lacks communication skills or theory of mind or things like that was true. In order to do the study, they paired people up in in three groups. One was a mixed group with autistic people and neurotypical people. The other one was just autistic people, and the third was only neurotypical people. And they played the game of like telephone, where you share a piece of information and then it's supposed to pass down the line, and you usually end up with some sort of ridiculously inaccurate statement. And they found when they did the study that the autistic group and the neurotypical group were just as accurate in their ability to communicate the information. We had problems was when the autistic people were combined with the neurotypical people in one group, that where communication deficits seemed to occur. So it sounds like more so that the idea that people have of autism, where that we lack communication skills, that we can't make friends, really is more of a almost like a cultural difference, almost it's like we speak a different language than the standard population, and so challenges occur when people don't understand our language or we don't understand their language, kind of a thing. Um, have you found that to be true at all in your experience? Do you feel like you were able to be understood and respected more with other people who are on the spectrum, or have you found that you were able to kind of float fine between both groups?
I would say that, well, the friends that I have tried to make, not everybody's gonna like you. Um, but I would say that the friends that I have, they're pretty understanding of it. Like they understand that it's a cultural thing. They understand that like people have their people have their differing opinions of it.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, anybody that I've come into contact with, like I or let's say that it's someone that I'm starting to meet, I tell them like, "Hey, I have this condition." And then they tend to um empathize with me, and they always um kind of give like a little background like about their family or something, like, "Oh, my cousin or my little brother has autism, so I
Mhm.
understand where you're coming from." And so that feels great whenever,
Mhm.
like you're not automatically put into a box, you're
Right.
empathized with. It's great. It's great to know that. Like that there are people that can empathize, and not everybody in the world is just out to get us.
Right. So you found it just like with everything, there's some people who are going to get you and there's some people who are not going to get you, but
Right.
you're
Right.
able to find at least that support in your life
Right.
right now. So, well, that's good. We all need that support system. Well, I guess we're run out of time for today, but I really enjoyed kind of chatting with you today, and thanks for sharing your experience with me about having autism. For those who are listening, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the TSP program here at Southern and how we help students with autism and ADHD succeed in school, you're welcome to check out our website at Southern and get a hold of us. And we would love to share a little bit more about why we love this program. So thanks so much. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks so much, Ruben.